Okay, so the next theme in Whitman is he's against analysis. All right, so let's find some examples of that. Section 4. It says, trippers and askers surround me. People I meet, the effect upon me of my early life or the ward and the city I live in. Then goes, the latest dates, my dinner, the real or fancied indifference of some man or woman I love. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then at the end of this section, backward I see in my own days where I sweated through fog with linguists and contenders. I have no mockings or arguments I witness and wait. Okay, so he sweated through with linguists and contenders. And to me, it seems like he's saying that was a mistake.
Sure.
Would you agree with that?
I think you may be right in that. In terms of against analysis, let's talk about analysis for a minute.
Yeah.
We get a sense, I don't know if pantheism is the right word, but there is this, there's this, we've talked about pantheism.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't necessarily identify God. He's saying he himself is pantheistically, he infuses all of reality, if you will.
Yeah.
Would analysis be that dispassionate attempt to divvy the world up, separate phenomena, and ignore what kind of intertwines throughout all of them, if you will?
Yeah, he's ignoring that.
Yes, correct.
He's not trying to understand with the mind.
Phenomena are most significant when they're taken in totality with each other. Analysis divvies all of these things up and treats them as separate disciplines, separate fields of study, and that, in Whitman's mind, is problematic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I think it's because it belongs to the super theme of sensuality, or the body is superior to the mind.
That too, because the mind in and of itself tends to partition phenomena off for one another.
Yeah, and it
establish systems, etc., etc.
It praises analysis.
Right.
Okay, so another section 6. Here he says, the Canuck, the Tuckahoe, Congressman Cuff, I give them the same, I receive them the same. Oh, this is where he's asking about the grass.
Yeah.
Child asks, what is the grass? And he makes really not much effort to understand what it is. He's more interested in sensual properties.
And to counter analysis, so to speak, in this poem, he says, where was it? Go back to where it was. It said it's like the grass is like a uniform hieroglyphic, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that really merits analysis. And he speaks of grass in all these different contexts. Grass, the significance of grass, it doesn't have one specific meaning. It pervades metaphorically, it pervades all areas of existence, if you will.
Well, hold on. I don't know if he says that the grass pervades all.
Well, when I say this, I guess it is a uniform hieroglyphic.
Oh, yeah, so you're interpreting uniform
sprouting alike in broad zones and narrow zones. So he's referring to something that permeates reality overall. And I say that because he mentions it in terms of death. He mentions it in terms of the handkerchief of the Lord. And he even says it's the handkerchief of the Lord. The Lord himself pervades all things. Hence, I think there's metaphysical significance when he talks about the grass, and it goes back to uniform hieroglyphic.
But I don't really understand this term, uniform hieroglyphic. I really don't see what he's getting at there.
I think it could be interpreted in so many different ways, is what he's saying. It has so many different meanings. Well, maybe not. But I do think the notion of grass is meant as something that's metaphysical and pervades, all sorts of things, really.
No, I think he's just saying, I don't know what it is. I don't know and I don't care. What I care about is its sensual properties.
Right. But he's giving all these possibilities of what it could be.
Yeah.
Or I guess, or I guess, or I guess. We see that 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we could say it's something that evades his capacity for analysis.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right. Let's get some more examples.
Okay.
Here in section 21, we have had ducking and deprecating about enough. So
I'm so sorry. Could you point to that for me?
Section 21. I chant the chant of dilation or pride.
Mm-hmm.
We have had ducking and deprecating about enough.
Sure.
I kind of think he's taking deprecating as synonymous with analysis. Ducking, so you could describe philosophical debate as a type of bobbing and weaving like a boxer does.
Yeah.
The ducking and deprecating.
Maybe. When I chant that he's advocating pride, and he's going against the notion of humility. So I'm not clear how that pertains to, again, the theme of against analysis.
All right, you just think he's arguing just against humility here.
Well, I take that back. If you look at the preceding section, it says, I am the poet of the woman as the seems. Maybe pride enables him to, maybe it's pride that allows him to identify with all these different people and the world phenomena, so to speak. Is that reasonable, do you think? It's an act of pride to identify himself with the whole world?
Could be.
Yeah, I'm not clear on that. That's just speculation on my part.
Yeah.
But
I am starting to think that maybe this passage has less to do with analysis or against analysis than I thought.
Well, if it is meant to be against analysis, we have my interpretation, but I think it may be easier just to exclude it from this particular category.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to embraces agnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
So, because he believes that the body is superior to the mind,
yes,
he also believes that you shouldn't really worry about knowing things
right
in every detail,
which could tie into the theme of against analysis.
Well, I'm saying that against analysis belongs to the super theme of sensuality.
Yes, yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in terms of agnosticism and a willingness to say, I don't know, that goes against, quote-unquote, the impulse toward analysis.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So here's, what section is this? 24, okay. Section 24. I dote on myself, there is that lot of me, and all so luscious. Each moment, and whatever happens, thrills me with joy. I cannot tell how my ankles bend, nor whence the cause of my faintest wish, nor the cause of the friendship I emit, nor the cause of the friendship I take again.
Right. So we're not so much dealing with agnosticism, like theistic agnosticism. This just pertains to agnosticism as to how the world in general works?
Not theistic agnosticism. Okay. So I cannot tell how my ankles bend.
And that does not confound him. That does not upset him in any way. He's perfectly content not knowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Okay, so now let's move on to some more explicitly, some passages that are more clearly about sensuality. So, here we go. I think this is the section 32.
Okay.
I am a free companion. I bivouac by invading watchfires. I turn the bridegroom out of bed and stay with the bride myself. I tighten her all night to my thighs and lips.
Yes. Now, I see you also had the note iconoclasm for this one, and I too agree with that.
We talked about that in the last episode.
We did. Okay.
All right. Okay. Section 45. My lovers suffocate me, crowding my lips thick in the pores of my skin, jostling me through streets and public halls, coming naked to me at night, crying by day, ahoy, from the rocks of the river, swinging and chirping over my head. All right, that's obviously about sensuality.
Obviously about sensuality, and this idea that there are so many different lovers that he has, for instance. And that may be literal, that may be more metaphoric. The thing we noted previously about turning out the bridegroom and sleeping with the bride.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of rebellious sexuality, at least in terms of an image,
Yeah.
Bridegroom and bride. We could also refer to the Christian notions of bridegroom and bride, but I think that would just lead us down a path which would be kind of a tangent, so I don't think we need to worry about that right now.
Okay. All right, so here's section 24. Walt Whitman, A Cosmos of Manhattan the Sun. And by the way, I got to point out that phrase of Manhattan the Sun.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it myself. I was just about to say something about it.
But in the first edition, that line didn't appear.
Really?
Yeah, it was some other line. I can't remember the exact line. And some critic, I can't remember which critic, he thought the original line was better.
Sure.
He didn't like of Manhattan the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the only time in English where I've seen a writer reverse the order of the genitive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, though. Son of man, Manhattan of the sun, sure.
Yeah, son of Manhattan, Manhattan sun. Okay. So, turbulent, fleshy, sensual, eating, drinking, and breeding. No sentimentalist, no standard above men and women or apart from them.
Mm-hmm.
No more modest than admonished.
Sure.
I should. All right, so that's obvious sensuality.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I do.
I should also point out this is sort of a digression, but I remember reading the Tin Drum by Gunter Grass, and he puts the genitive. He reverses the order, but in German it's much easier to do because the genitive has you have to put like a S at the end of the noun.
Give me an example.
Okay, so there's own. Well, let's just any wills. So I wouldn't say the son of will. I want to say their own will. I would say their own wills.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
So they put an S at the end.
Right.
Sort of like the apostrophe S in English, but the apostrophe S in English apparently comes from French.
Sure.
So, but when I'm reading a foreign language, you can't get those. It's hard to get innovations. It's hard to understand innovations of language. So when you see an innovation of language in a foreign language, you're more asking yourself, like, what does this mean?
Yes.
Like, is this the right way to do things?
Sure.
So it's not easy to enjoy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Understood. So I like this a lot. This is section 24 still. Unscrew the locks from the doors. Unscrew the doors themselves from their jambs. You had the notation, be free and wild, and that's casting aside inhibition, moral inhibition, anything of that nature. I do like that particular,
Yeah, so that passage kind of belongs to one of these other themes later on that don't really fit. Well, it does fit. I guess it does fit in the sensuality super theme.
Yeah.
So, like the mind, it's cautious. It evaluates risks. It calculates what should I do. Whereas the being free in the wild, it doesn't calculate what you should do. It just does it.
Right. I also want to point out that line, what Manhattan of the sun. Mm-hmm. Of Manhattan the sun. He has only a city. He has only Manhattan because he unscrewed all the locks from the doors and cast away his inhibitions, if you will.
You hold on. You think that this line is related to being born of Manhattan?
Excuse me?
You think this line, unscrew the locks from the doors?
No, I just think it relates to the preceding stanza. How is he a cosmos? What facilitates being a cosmos? One aspect, I think, is unscrewing the locks, unscrewing the doors, or avoiding inhibitions, hang-ups, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hence, he has all these different lovers, yada, 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 that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got you.
Carl,
I'm all right. Okay. I am the poet of the body. I'm the poet of the soul.
Yes.
The pleasures of heaven are with me, and the pains of hell are with me. So that's section 21.
Yes.
Real obviously sensuality.
Sure, of course.
All right, so now let's start going passages where he explicitly says... This is also a passage where he explicitly says the body is superior to the mind.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. He doesn't explicitly say the body is superior to the mind.
But at the very least, he prioritizes the body with the mind.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Yeah, I already said this last podcast. I think he contradicts himself. I think he clearly says that the body is superior to the mind, although later on he clearly says that... Well,
it's materialistic, so it's reducible to the body. The mind is just a manifestation of the body. Body can exist without mind. Mind can't exist without body.
Body is superior. Nature is divine. Okay, so here, again, and this is again in section 24.
Okay.
Where he says, if I worship one thing more than another, it shall be the spread of my own body or any part of it. Translucent mold of me, it shall be you. So this is the long passage where he ends each line with, it shall be you.
Right. I'll also point out that if I worship one thing, the spread of my body, does he mean his literal body, or does that include the Manhattan that he's referring to, the cosmos, if you will? Or both?
I think it's his literal body.
Literal body?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure. It says Translucent mold of me, it shall be you, which suggests a shared body? Transparent mold, a translucent mold, the mold is obviously the body. So I'm saying maybe it's I don't know. I'm inclined to say both interpretations go together. He worships his body, he worships the body politic, the body, yeah.
He also says, my brain, it shall be your occult convolutions.
Mm-hmm, I like that.
Yeah, this is a great...
Yeah, it shall be your occult convolutions.
Yeah. Root of washed sweet flag, timorous pond snipe, nest of guarded duplicate eggs, it shall be you.
The genitals.
Oh, you...
Oh, sure, yeah.
Duplicate eggs? Okay.
Duplicate eggs, timorous pond snipe. Yeah, I'm inclined to say that that's a genital reference.
And then later on he says, winds whose soft tickling genitals rub against me, it shall be you. I'm sure that angered a lot of people in the 1850s.
It would not surprise me.
All right. Okay, so now let's move on to what I believe are the Bill Murray passages. So we now know from this documentary that came out about Bill Murray that Bill Murray, he doesn't have plans, he doesn't have a schedule, he just goes out. He's not standoffish. He'll mix with anybody, and he'll have a good time.
Right.
He kind of lives in the present.
The purpose is experience, not necessarily a certain goal.
Yeah, he's not really calculating how can I get the most pleasure out of this limited time I have.
Sure.
I gotta say I'm really the opposite. I'm insane about maximizing my time.
I am way too neurotic to live for the moment.
Also, admittedly, Bill Murray's famous and all that, and people love him, so I really can't just go out and hang out with strangers. I mean, maybe I could if I went to bars and drank alcohol. I don't drink alcohol.
If the strangers were like Bill Murray, I'd hang out with them.
Yeah. So here's so section 9. The big doors of the country barn stand open and ready. The dried grass of the harvest time loads the slow-drawn wagon. The clear light plays on the brown, gray, and green intertinged. The armfuls are packed to the sagging mow. I am there. I help. I came stretched atop of the load. I jump from the cross beams and seize the clover and timothy and roll head over heels and tangle my hair full of wisps.
There are two things here, like with the Bill Murray theme. The purpose, the goal in terms of the future is getting his hay into the barn, basically. He should be doing that, but he opts instead to playfully experience, to immerse himself in the moment by jumping beam to beam, jumping into the hay bales, that kind of thing. Yeah,
and I forgot to say that this is a subset of the theme of sensuality, where the body is superior to the mind, because he's not making all of these plans and stuff and calculating.
Yeah.
It's because he doesn't prize the mind.
True. I totally agree.
Yeah. All right. And there's another Bill Murray passage, section 10. So the Yankee Clipper is under her sky sails. Sky sails is a great...
I like that very much.
It's a good one. She cuts the sparkle and scud. My eyes settle the land. I bend at her prow or shout joyously from the deck. The boatmen and clam diggers arose early and stopped for me. I tucked my trouser ends in my boots and went and had a good time. There it is. I went and had a good time.
Exactly. He's supposed to be on the ship. He has a purpose, which is spotting, like crying out land ho when appropriate. But on the spur of the moment, he opts to leave and mingle with the clansmen and the boat diggers. So he chooses a experience, something of the moment, rather than his established duties, his job description, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, so all right. So now let's move on to some themes where it's not really clear how they relate to the super themes.
Sure.
Death is not bad. So, section 49. And as to you, death, and you bitter hug of mortality, it is idle to try to alarm me. To his work without flinching, the accoucheur comes. Who do you think the accoucheur is?
To work without... Let's look it up, because I have not encountered the word before.
It means like falling asleep or something.
Is it?
because that's what it means in French. But does it have a technical meaning? Accoucher. A man who assists a woman in childbirth.
Okay, so it's like a male midwife, basically.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, a man midwife. There you are. Cool.
Yeah, okay. To his work without flinching, the accoucher comes. I see the elder hand pressing, receiving, supporting. I recline by the sills of the exquisite flexible doors and mark the outlet and mark the relief and escape. And as to you, corpse, I think you are good manure, but that does not offend me.
I think so. Would you agree that the second stanza, those 4 lines, is about childbirth?
Well, he says the...
Well, no, but I mean, keep looking at it. I see the elder hand pressing, receiving, support. It's like the midwife. The exquisite flexible doors seems vaginal to me. And then to mark the outlets, to mark the relief and the escape. These all seem to be like midwife and a child, to be honest.
Yeah, it could be. He could be alluding to that.
And it almost sounds like, it says to mark the outlets, it's mark the relief and escape. It's almost like he's trying to say birth is more frightening than death.
Maybe. Okay, but actually, while we're here, let's just look at these next 2 lines.
Okay.
Because these aren't really clear to me. I smell the white roses, sweet-scented and growing. I reach to the leafy leaps. I reach to the polished breast of mountains. I guess this is just sensuality.
Yeah. The white roses, sweetly scented, reaching to the leafy lips, sounds very sensual to me, very sexual to me. The polished breasts of melons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's more central. Yeah. So this is great. So this is for section 49.
Yeah. This is towards the end.
So we have that great imagery about childbirth. Then we have the relation between the female the female body as sexualized in vegetation. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
But I think that's one of the most intriguing points in those 4 lines: is birth is more frightening or more stressful, if you will, than death, which is my interpretation.
Okay. And here, section 7, this is very explicit. Has anyone supposed it lucky to be born? I hasten to inform him or her it is just as lucky to die, and I know it. Which
reiterates the comment I made about about the previous section. Mm-hmm. Birth is more of a frightening phenomenon than death.
And then the last 2 lines of section 6. Mm-hmm. All goes onward and outward, nothing collapses. And to die is different from what anyone supposed, and luckier.
All goes onward and outward, and nothing collapses is very Lucretian. The idea that Lucretius is very, very present in Whitman was introduced to me by Harold Bloom, and I just kept that in the back of my mind with Whitman. And
you mean it wasn't introduced by Dead Poets Society?
I beg your pardon?
Whitman? You said Harold Bloom introduced you to Whitman?
The notion that Lucretius was a heavy influence on Whitman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, was first introduced to me by Harold Bloom.
I thought you meant Whitman in general was first introduced to you.
No.
Okay. All right, good.
Although we do have to watch that movie soon.
Well, I was... I think we should watch the Hart Crane movie, as a matter of fact.
What's that called again?
I think it's called Voyages, or...
We'll look it up.
The James Franco interpretation. Or Jen, I've already seen it, but I'm willing to watch it again.
I'm more than willing to do that.
Okay.
So what are we next?
All right. Death is not bad. He understands things better. Okay.
Now, what do you mean by he understands things better? Oh, okay.
He kind of says. I think he really only says this one time. Yeah, I only have this down here one time. So, at the end of section 7, undrape. You are not guilty to me, nor stale, nor discarded. I see through the broadcloth and gingham, whether or no, and am around, tenacious, acquisitive, tireless, and cannot be shaken away.
I'm sorry, who is he talking to?
Well, that's a good question, because, okay, so he starts out the section, has anyone supposed it lucky to be born?
I hasten to inform him, so maybe it's that him who he's trying to convey some lesson to about death.
Yeah, but he doesn't tell us who the him is.
Okay.
But also in the stanza previous, for me, those who have been boys and that love women, for me, this is a great use of parallelism. Mm-hmm. For me, the man that is proud and feels how it stings to be slighted. For me, the sweetheart and the old woman and the old maid.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think we should point out that when he's saying for me, like, he's saying, for me, these people are good or valuable.
Yeah, they have value, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps... Okay, no.
And then he just says, undrape, you are not guilty to me, nor... and I should also point out that this is a good instance of where Whitman, he's able to change topics very quickly.
Okay.
It bothers some people, but I see it as freedom. Like he's not feeling bound to stick to the Aristotelian unities of subject. Well, I don't know if there are any Aristotelian. There's Aristotelian unities of time and space, but writers back then tended to stay on topic more than they do now.
So, if I may ask, what do you make of the word undrape?
Well, take off your clothes.
Right. But what's the significance of that, do you think?
Well, he's saying that the flesh is not bad.
Right.
And
he's saying that almost like, they all have value. There's beauty in any physical form, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think this is... I only have one instance of this theme, but I think there are more instances of this in his work, where he's kind of saying he has a unique view on reality. He's discovered something, and he understands the way the world is much better than other people.
Okay, cool.
Okay, all right. He's not out to stop suffering. Maybe this could be belong to the same theme as death is not bad, or so section 8, at the end of section 8, what groans of overfed or half-starved who fall sunstruck or in fits, what exclamations of women taken suddenly who hurry home and give birth to babes, what living and buried speech is always vibrating here, what howls restrained by decorum, arrests of criminals, slights, adulterous offers made, acceptances, rejections with convex lips, I mind them or the show or resonance of them, I come and I depart. So he's saying, I pay attention to them, I note them down, and then he departs.
Right. Okay.
So these arrests of criminals, these adulterous offers, acceptances.
Prostitution, basically, I guess.
Yeah. And this also could go towards the theme of everyone is good, or
everyone has value of some sort.
People who are traditionally thought of as evil are not evil to Whitman.
That's fair. I like that. Okay.
Well, I only have, he's not out to stop suffering. I only have one instance of that.
I like rejections with convex lips. It almost conveys a taunt. You approach someone for sexual reasons, and they reject you, and their lips are pursed in kind of like a mocking taunt.
Yeah. Keen observer. This is sort of... all right, this is another theme. He's a keen observer. He observes things that most people gloss over.
Yes.
And mostly because he believes that the body is superior to the mind, so he's willing to look at instances of the body. Okay, so this is right after the Bill Murray passage that we read earlier. So section 10. I saw the marriage of the trapper in the open air in the far west. The bride was a red girl. Her father and his friends sat near, cross-legged and dumbly smoking. They had moccasins to their feet and large thick blankets hanging from their shoulders. On a bank lounged the trapper. He was dressed mostly in his skins. His luxuriant beard and curls protected his neck. He held his bride by the hand. She had long eyelashes. Her head was bare. Her coarse, straight locks descended upon her voluptuous limbs and reached to her feet. All right. So what do you think? You think?
Well, he's not... When he says he sees... that he's a keen observer, he's not caught up just in the act of marriage. He will concite even really mundane details. If you focus on mundane details. Because we don't really hear anything about the marriage ceremony, for instance. We don't see anyone officiating over the ceremony.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people would be looking at this marriage ceremony and be thinking how great it is that they're finally together.
Of course.
And they think about the people's histories and how they met.
But instead it's the mundane. They're smoking, they're holding hands, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, let's move on to one of my favorite themes. Now, admittedly, this appears 4 times. Okay.
Well, let's try it.
Okay, so admittedly, I'm biased here. So I love surrealism.
Sure.
And I'm probably prone to see surrealism where it's not.
Okay.
But I see in Whitman a little bit of proto-surrealism.
Okay.
So in my opinion, surrealism starts with Mallarmé, the French poet, in the 1870s. So a lot of people disagree with that. When I say surrealism, I'm not thinking about Breton. André Breton writes an essay about what he sees as surrealism. To me, it comes across as such a muddled mess that I really can't even summarize it or remember. Sure. I just know that it's not the surrealism that I ascribe to.
How do you define surrealism?
Yeah, so narrating events which are physically impossible.
Okay.
Even logically impossible.
We'll just call those absurd.
Yeah, so like if I say time became the number 3, that's probably logically impossible, but you might find that in a surrealist passage. Right. Something that's more physically impossible would be like, the boulder hovered above the river.
Right.
So that's physically impossible, but not logically impossible.
For me, surrealism, I would say, is when you have these really absurd, impossible juxtapositions, and they're taken as perfectly normal by the persons in the narrative. It's not something unusual.
But you could have absurd juxtapositions of, like, belief. Like, so, Hitler is good and Obama is good. That would be an absurd juxtaposition.
But I wouldn't call that surrealism.
Right, I wouldn't. But that meets your definition, though.
No. When I say absurd juxtapositions, I'm saying, like, the man who had a barber pole for a head, for instance. Really absurd things that could not actually happen. I mean,
okay, absurd things that couldn't happen, but wouldn't that just be a synonym for physically impossible?
Maybe. But however we define that, I would say that in surrealism, I really feel it's important that it's not like the characters walk out of they observe this absurd phenomenon. It's like, oh my god, this is totally abnormal. What the hell is going on? I think with surrealist fiction, surrealist painting, surrealist film, what you see, like in Eraserhead, for instance.
Yeah.
No one is baffled and confounded by the world they live in. These seem perfectly natural and perfectly logical. And I think that is necessary for the surreal genre, personally.
Yeah. Okay, good. I call to the earth and sea half held by the night.
I'm so sorry, point to where you are, please.
And by the way, we're in section 21.
Section 21, okay.
So that's it. That's really the only line of proto-surrealism I see there. I call to the earth and sea. Well, I guess it's just that final...
I think it's... I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Coordinate is the technical linguistic term. So, sea half held by the night.
I don't think that's surreal, though. I think that's just a basic... Sea half held by the night. Half of the world, the oceans in half the world are in nightfall, and on the other side of the planet, it's daytime.
Oh, you think it's a metaphor?
Yeah, I think it's a metaphor. I don't take that to be serious.
All right.
Let's go to another one.
Let's go to another one. Okay. Section 51. The past and present wilt. I have filled them, emptied them, and proceed to fill my next fold of the future.
I would say that's just an existential statement. Honestly, he's exhausted the past. His past and present are exhausted, so he puts all his hope in what may allow in the future, basically.
Yeah, I do see, like, you could interpret that as just a metaphor.
Right, I think it's an existential statement. I'm not sure I take that as surrealistic, though.
Okay. Section 49, the last passages. I ascend from the moon, I ascend from the night. I perceive that the ghastly glimmer is noonday sunbeams reflected, and debouche... Am I pronouncing that right? How do you pronounce that? Debouche.
Should that be debauch?
No, it's not debauch.
Like in debauchery?
No, it means, like, debark from a boat, I think.
Oh.
Debouche. To issue from a narrow confined place as a defile or a wood into open country. Well, that's military.
Okay.
To issue at a mouth or the outlet into wider...
It's the same thing, basically. To exit a ship. Step out of a ship. Yeah. So let's take a look. I ascend from the moon, I ascend from the night.
Well, I didn't finish reading, so...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And debouche to the steady and central from the offspring, great or small. Yeah, they do pronounce it as debouche.
Okay.
In the OED. Okay. So, yeah, I ascend from the moon. I ascend from the night. I think that's surrealism there.
I'm not. I would have to work out what the meaning is before I could say if it's surrealism or proto-surrealism. Yeah, I'm not sure. Unless I ascend from the moon, I ascend from the night. It could pertain to the reflection of moon and night in the ocean waters. And the ghastly glimmer is... Yeah, because then you have the reflection of sunbeams. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Okay, so I perceive that the ghastly glimmer is noonday sunbeams reflected. That's referring to the moon. Moonlight is, of course, the reflection of sunbeams, which will tie back into that one thing about, what is it, the ocean half held in night? You and I were discussing just a few moments ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I ascend from the moon. I ascend from the night. I think those two lines deal with reflections in the ocean water. That would be my guess. But in terms of debouche to the steady and central,
from the offspring, great or small.
I guess.
I think that's also surrealist.
Well, it could be just a philosophical statement. You know, we start with the phenomena, all the different manifestations of things, and then we get to the steady and central, which would be some level of truth, divinity, heaven. That kind of thing.
Actually, you could interpret that passage as metaphorical.
But how does that statement, and debouche to the steady and central form, relate to the preceding two lines? I ascend from the moon, I ascend from the night. I perceive that the ghastly glimmer is noondays.
Maybe they're not related, because he will, put things in the same sentence which aren't that related.
Right. Or again, maybe when he says he's okay, this is my thinking. So he's ascending. The moon, the night, all of these different earthly phenomena, he's ascending to something greater, unified divinity, hence to debauch to the steady and central, from the offspring, great or small, which would be the night, the moon, etc.
Okay. All right. Section 40.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Huh. Okay. Oh, this is where flaunt of the sunshine, I need not your bask lie over. You light surfaces only, I force surfaces and depths also. Mm-hmm. Flaunt of the sunshine, I need not your bask lie over. So he's kind of saying the sun is a person, and he's asking the sunshine to lie over. Earth, you seem to look for something at my hands. Say, old topknot, what do you want? So now he's saying that the earth is a person. He's asking the earth what it wants.
Right.
Man or woman, I might tell you how I like you, but cannot. The rest of the passages, I don't see any surrealism, but in making the sun and the earth persons which have bodies, mm-hmm. and this doesn't seem just to be like basic personification or metaphorical. I kind of think that this is more. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go that far. I was going to say that he's kind of imagining the earth as really people, but no, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Now he is granting Earth, you seem to look for something at my hands, which seems like the Earth is an agency of some sort. Uh-huh. Same thing with the sun. So he does not need the sun. He doesn't need the Earth, so to speak. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
let's go down to the. It says, I like that. To Cottonfield drudge or cleaner of privies I lean, or in his right cheek I put the family kiss, and in my soul I swear I will never deny him, which is, of course, a reference to St. Thomas, who denied Christ 3 times. Yeah. So it's almost like
I thought it was Peter.
Was it Peter? Doubting Thomas. No, okay, no, Thomas was the one who probed Christ's wounds. So you may be right, Peter. So in this case, he's elevating the cotton field drudge, the cleaner of privies, the most base positions or base occupations, to the level of Christ, or to the level of divinity. He sees divinity in all these things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I guess there isn't proto-surrealism in Whitman. I was kind of seeing things that weren't there. For the last theme of today, this will be the last of today, and we'll pick it up another time. The mysticism.
Sure.
So he's got some mystical passages in Song of Myself. So all forces have... Okay, end of section 44. Before I was born out of my mother, generations guided me. My embryo has never been torpid. Nothing could overlay it. For it, the nebula cohered to an orb, the long, slow strata piled to rest it on. Vast vegetables gave it sustenance. Monstrous sauroids transported it in their mouths and deposited it with care. All forces have been steadily employed to complete and delight me. Now on this spot, I stand with my robust soul.
Whitman is the culmination of history, if you will. All of history has leading up to his development, his existence. It's interesting. I used to be a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan, and there's a comic in which Calvin says to Hobbes, thousands of generations, all these years and evolution have led up to my existence. I am the pinnacle of existence. I am perfection.
Yeah.
And Hobbes says, well, what are you going to do with yourself now that you're, the purpose of the universe? What are you going to do now that you're here? And in the next scene, they're watching television, laughing, and eating popcorn. It's cereal, basically. But same sentiment. So when you started to read this, before I was born out of my mother, generations guided me. My embryo was never. I took that to me. My initial thing was genetics. He's referencing the science of genetics. But it doesn't really, that scientific observation doesn't detract from the fact that the entire cosmos in its history has led up to him. He is the pinnacle. I don't think this is a narcissistic statement, though, because keep in mind, he identifies with everything. With everything and everyone. So the world itself is the culmination of cosmic history, not his sole solitary existence. Right. This isn't like a narcissistic pain to himself, if you will.
Okay. But do you see mysticism here?
Not really. I don't.
No?
I think it's just a general comment. We could read evolution, genetics, cosmology into this. Ultimately, it's saying that the world as we know it, this is what has been intended from the very beginning. Well, in mysticism, it may indicate design. Like the world has been, the cosmos was designed to culminate in humanity, if you will. But is it necessarily mysticism? I'm not sure. I would hesitate to say that.
All right, well, let's look at section 50.
Okay.
There is that in me. I do not know what it is, but I know it is in me. Wrenched and sweaty, calm and cool, then my body becomes. I sleep long. I do not know it. It is without name. It is a word unsaid. It is not in any dictionary utterance symbol. Something it swings on more than the earth I swing on. To it the creation is the friend whose embracing awakes me. Perhaps I might tell more. Outlines. I plead for my brothers and sisters. Do you see, O my brothers and sisters, it is not chaos or death. It is form, union, plan. It is eternal life. It is happiness.
I think that's mystical.
Yeah.
I say that. I mean, you and I, have an interest in the mystics. Meister Eckhart.
Well, I'm not interested in the mystics.
But I'm just commenting. You're calling this mysticism.
Yeah.
And I concur. Meister Eckhart, the German Dominican mystic, he identified an element of the soul. You could not name it. You could not speak of it, but it was identical with God, who himself was unnameable, beyond conception, that kind of thing. So I think that 50, with that interpretation in mind, I think this could very well be a mystical poem. Yeah.
All right. And by the way, I got to define mysticism, so you're kind of saying as a mystic that there's something ineffable which has a power. It has causal powers. It can maybe even save you. It can transform you. and you can't describe it. It goes beyond reason. You can't analyze it. You can't describe it. You can't.
What you're detailing is something called negative theology, in which God is beyond predication, beyond logic, beyond concept, etc. Mm-hmm. So yes, you are correct. I would agree.
Okay, and I think Whitman kind of subscribes to that philosophy a little bit. Okay, so section 46. This day before dawn I ascended a hill and looked at the crowded heaven, and I said to my spirit, when we become the enfolders of those orbs, and the pleasure and knowledge of everything in them, shall we be filled and satisfied then? And my spirit said, no, we but level that lift to pass and continue beyond.
Could that be saying that there is no ultimate endpoint, no ultimate pinnacle? That the reality or the world just keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. They say that sorry, amongst theologians, that God is infinite. God would require like an infinitude of manifestations. So this is saying there is no point at which we can totally understand the universe, where we can experience everything. It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, there's no point at which we will be satisfied.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So I guess that's not mysticism.
I think that's reasonably mystical, actually.
Reasonably mystical?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it goes back to negative theology, in which reality, cannot be, or divinity cannot be exhausted, because it is infinite, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll call it a mystical poem.
All right. All right. Oh, we already spoke about the message.
Excuse me.
Okay, I guess that's it for the mysticism. I didn't find many instances of mysticism, so we'll stop there for today.
Okay.